Hello everyone, it's Mike Levin, Monday, August 14th, at just about 8 a.m. I'm heading out at a good time this morning. I'll be at work at a nice early 9 a.m. Monday morning, that's my plan. But I thought I'd shoot a little video, starting from just getting onto the elevator. Transitions, moving from one place to another, planning so that when that move occurs, you're in a good starting spot. People spend so much time at, say, the unit level, the moment you're in, or thinking excessively about the moment to come, or thinking excessively about the moment behind you. The optimized way to behave is to be, living in the moment, enjoying, because you don't really know how things are, and the only thing you know for sure, one of the few givens, is that you are experiencing this experience right now. So that would default to always leading to the most animalistic, hedonistic decisions, but it can't because of dependencies we have upon each other as social mammals. And so if anyone acted too irresponsibly, a sudden dose of objective reality gets brought down onto that person, having that nothing matters, nihilistic, solipsistic. There's a few different terms, some good, some bad, for what those, nearly existential crisis-like moments are, when you realize that, there's a lot of human beings on Earth, and they can't all be right and they can't all be wrong. So if there is something like truth, it's somewhere in the fuzzy middle. And you've got all these probability and statistic-based concepts there that blends really well with quantum theory, where when you get down in scale to that subatomic level, and things like Planck's constant start making reality blurry like clouds of probability, you realize that the moment you're living is that crisp, clear, zoomed out, right at this uniquely human scale that supports complex computers that are our brains, and the systems of sensory equipment and mobility and manipulators that surround them. And you go, wow, okay, so this all has something to do with processing, sensory input, decision making, output. The output includes perchance mobility, manipulation of the environment, which affects the initial conditions, so it creates these feedback loops of various sorts that could spiral downwards into oblivion, or could put you down a path that increases your likelihood of continuing your own instance and instantiating new instances of others like you, life. There's this permutation that seems to be built in, so experimentation can happen, random mutations, survival of the fittest, Darwinism, and all that. So you got these evolutionary cycles where things mutate and blend and go into each other, but certain core bits are preserved, and we seem to label these things genes. And, we start to crack the code of everything around us and get to the point where we go, we can make machines think. Yeah, okay, we got this. Some people are more optimistic than others, and you'll get some basic splits between Ray Kurzweil saying 25 years, uploading your brain, and Michio Kaku, who says, yeah, we'll get there, but we're talking 500 years, halfway to another, 1,000-year millennia. It's a linear progression versus an exponential progression question, and who benefits when these innovations happen? Are they allowed to happen? How fast can they proceed? How quick can the iterative cycle morally be when you're dealing with like scanning intelligences and, all those other moral issues that are going to sort of churn up. So we're at the point where we're machine learning stuff with a batch processing approach mostly. Those of us who are not, with country or megacorp budgets are generally doing data polls, applying processes to this, and coming up with answers. That's just like the punch cards of the rise of the computing era, where there's a priesthood who knows how to do this. You rally and marshal all your necessary input through a small elite priesthood who knows how to do this stuff by batch processing. They dump it into the machine, they give you your blessed answer on a pillow with an envelope, or on a tray with an envelope, whatever the metaphor would be. And then through just at least linear progression of technology capacity, you have real-time processing, because why wait for your reports? And that generally includes such tricks as getting rid of the separation between your data collection layer that has fast inputs and your reporting layer that has fast queries and selects. Usually there's some way to synchronize these two things, and the reporting people only touch the reporting layer and the data collection people only touch the data collection layer. These two things get blended together when it becomes real time. Look at the marketing for something called SAP HANA and in-memory databases for real-time aggregates for an idea of what these things are. When the processing capacity can keep up with the data collection in all the aggregate calculations it has to perform, so that the separation between the data collection layer and the reporting layer seems to disappear, that is when you're in the real-time world, and that's where we got to with things such as Google and such since. So this is sort of the introduction. I'm going to try and get rid of the truly rambling nature of my videos and try and superimpose the structure that I plan to put in my book or whatever it's going to be that gradually rolls out. But the introductory concept is you've got these patterns, daily patterns, weekly patterns, predictable rhythm. It comes from the human existence. We sleep, we wake up, we process. That lends itself to batch processing mentality, which is fine until you realize you can be doing real time. So generally, systems, beings, everything progresses from batch processing approaches to real-time approaches. What comes after real time? Well, when you're collecting enough data that you can do further calculations and further calculations, you can choose different models that tend to predict the way things are going to be and pre-calculate them according to 20 or 30 different models. So you create a cloud of probability of immediate future prediction based on the current inputs. And you get a very predictive quality. You get the ability to make guesses and make predetermined, you had time to think about it, decisions at those points where little differences do matter, because little differences don't always matter. Butterfly effect does, a butterfly, the way it flaps its wing in China, necessarily always affect everything going on and everything that follows in some significant way? And the answer is predominantly no. There's key instances that trigger off rapidly divergent, unique and unlikely timelines. Things like the way CPUs work with a single CPU generally, until we're getting the multi-core thing down. But what we totally, sidestepped was the kind of processors that we're only working on now in hardware, where neural networks are optimized in hardware and you don't rely on this performance thunking software layer that sets you back by perhaps decades against other, potential alternate histories where neural networks and processors working side by side came first. That leads to discussions of Turing machines and the small separation between languages like Lisp and Turing machines and life itself, intelligence, and perhaps even down at the molecular level, because just things are linked to things and arranged in certain ways and follow certain rules. And people like Elon Musk say it's more likely we're actually living in a video game, okay, a simulation, whatever. So, a lot of lines of thought bring you the sci-fi way. I go there all the time too. I just finished reading the 3rd book of the Bobiverse series. Wow, it's not right up there with Ian M. Banks' The Culture series, but there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic about the future. Tendencies that tend to survive. Tendencies that tend to allow the collective creature to have another chance usually win, or you wouldn't be there to be making that observation. So humans have, on average, not totally blown it. Although we've come close to it in 1942, and humanity survived a filter event. Humanity has more filter events coming up, maybe even here today, who knows? There's a lot of them. There is, as the Existence book, David Brin, I think, put it, there is a cornucopia of things we've got to be on guard against, and you actually need something like a defense against the ability of the one or the individual to ruin it for everyone. And then, of course, that discussion gets to, you got to get off the planet at some point. That means let's colonize the moon, small group of people, get a few people more than just the space station. So I love me my sci-fi, and I comment on that. And politics, just a wee little bit. I don't like politics. I'm not a political person. But I did make the observation this morning on my Twitter, which you should go follow me. I'm MIKLEVIN over on Twitter. That we have the 90s for president. I didn't particularly like the 90s. 90s is when I decided to tune out of the media. The O.J. Simpson stuff, the Ken Starr stuff, it blew my focus. I could not get my head into the game. And I lost my chance to do my first, achieving fortune on my first go around. So here I am, 46, and finally figuring stuff out, putting it together, and I am determined to share it with you, no matter how terrible the audio is in the background, because I'm zero edit. This happens because I ramble, because I have this commute is why these videos occur. So zero edit, or maybe one. Part of the point will be, if I am what I think I am with Python now, generally able to automate anything automatable, then I'll be one edit mic, because if I do a series of short videos, I'll just do something that I can select them all, bam, publish to YouTube, edited together front to back with virtually no work on my part, or in fact I will have pushed the complexity of such a task to live in the perfect place, which is not me sitting in front of a video editing thing like Adobe Premiere. I did the Amiga. I don't need any more video editing, multimedia, title. No, thank you. Been there. That was called the 90s. I got that out of my system. That's what I was doing as everyone was wrapped up in the OJ trial. So I think I am just going to do my thing and try and make a go of it, my second go around, starting from the place where I should be, and maybe should have been in the first place, folks who need SEO, right as everything's changing and this machine learning stuff starts to actually play in and really matter. So this is where it gets exciting. Data master, your tools are your samurai sword. Vim, hardest thing you will ever learn, but worth it in many ways for the rest of your life. Linux and Git a little bit too, and yeah, rah. Thanks for joining me. Hope to talk to you soon, and don't forget to subscribe. Make this big. Help me out here. Thanks. Bye.